right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Flipside. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And this is the first installment of our Top 100 Games, the 2024 edition. We did this last year.
Rock on, baby.
I will have to say right on the onset, hold on to your hats. Do not expect, at least with my list, there was a lot of upheaval. I used a different system for putting my things in order.
Yep.
I also added about 130 games to my list of possibilities for the top 100. So I actually ranked out my top 250 games. And
that's nuts.
And so the 100 that I did last year, or the 120 that I did last year, are kind of split out into that 250. So hold on to your hats. Don't hurt me after it's all said and done.
Last year was my first official top 100, right? Mm-hmm. So this year being my second official top 100, I did more work on this list. Now I went through PubMeeple and
so did I.
I put in a boatload of games first. I put in, I don't even know what it was. I put in hundreds. And then I started deleting out, and I just deleted until I was about 150. I think I ended up at 155. And then I ranked those. And then I went through that list, and I compared basically every single game to the next 10 games to see if it fit where it was supposed to do. So I did some massaging and a little bit here and there throughout the list. But that was the basis of what I did.
I fed 250 games into PubMeeple,
and I spit out a spreadsheet.
I ranked all 250 of them, and that's what we have.
I didn't do that. I spent a lot of time thinking about, really, is this game better than that game? Really, is this? I spent a lot of time on this list just because that's the way I like to do things. It definitely wasn't a requirement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you do that. You do that as you're using that PubMeeple ranking system. I did look over my top 100. Well, at least my top 100 to make sure that I didn't have anything that was like, well, that definitely doesn't belong
doesn't
there.
Make sense or something. Yeah, that makes sense. After I changed everything, then I looked at my old list. I didn't let my old list, sit side by side with it or anything like that.
The only thing I did was I went through and categorized or cataloged where 2023 was as compared to 2024.
I did that as well.
That's after the fact.
And I have 20 new games on my list this year. 20.
Let me one-up you there.
I know.
Son.
I'm pretty sure he's got a lot more, but I like Sam 2.0, so I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, this is definitely Sam 2.0, y'all. This is our numbers 100 to 91. Let's get to it. My number 100 is a game that is new to the list.
All right.
Smacked right in at number 100. This is a very stark-looking game. Lots of reds, lots of white. This is called Mezen.
Oh. Really?
This is a spatial organization game where you're going to have a tile, or rather a grid of tiles on your player board, and there are 10 different ways that you're going to score points using those 10 tiles. And what configuration they're in at the end of the round where that scoring card is going to be scored is what you're trying to do during that round. And the way you do that, the way you change the configuration of your tiles is by picking, one person, rather, is going to pick a animal that you have to take those tiles out of your configuration. Now, when you take those tiles out, you have to take a group of those tiles. You can't just take all of them out. You take a group of tiles that are adjacent to each other, and that's what pops out. It's a really interesting abstract strategy game is really what it is.
Huh. I never played it yet.
But
so.
it's very enjoyable, and it's a very memorable game in my opinion. So that's my number 100, Mezen from Arcane Wonders.
Nice. You said that was new to your list. Obviously.
New to my list, yes.
All right. Well, my number 100 is also new to my list. I know we discussed it last year, but I hadn't played it enough at that point in time, I think when we did our top 100 for it to land. And that is Tamashii Chronicle of Ascent.
Ooh, okay.
This is an Awakened Realms game in which you're in a cyberpunk world. You're traveling around this map. You're exploring tiles. You're getting chased by robots. The interesting mechanics here, you are a human that has learned to basically put your mind into the web and then go into these bodies, these husks, that have different abilities. You know, some of them are strong, some of them are smart, some of them are fast, and they have these different abilities to help you beat Ascend, who is the AI system that is trying to wipe out humanity. It is a scenario...
Skynet.
Yeah, it's a scenario-based game where you have a scenario, you have to get these things accomplished. Like you said, while you're being chased by robots and while you're possessing these different bodies. And you have this cool mechanism in the middle of your board where you're drawing chips out of a bag and you're putting them into this grid, and you're trying to make specific patterns by making these programs,
really cool mechanism.
Which you can fire off these programs later to do things within, whether it's fighting enemies. They have patterns on them that you try to beat, or whether you're trying to level up, or whether you're trying to do something within the mission. So it's a really cool mission. It's beautiful artwork. I really love the artwork in this game. I really love the art style, I suppose. And I like that cyberpunk theme. So that's my number 100, Tamashii Chronicle of Ascend.
Cool beans. All right, my number 99 was number 37 last year. But remember, I added 130 games, so there's going to be a lot of...
and I had a lot of movement, too.
A lot of movement, yeah, there you go. That's a good word. This one is called Rise of the Necromancers. Now, Rise of the Necromancers is a really fun game where that probably has a lot darker of a theme than... Well, it absolutely has a much darker theme than gameplay will feel like.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, because each player is a necromancer vying for control of this land, and you're trying to stamp out the light, and you're trying to be the most powerful necromancer in the world, and that's kind of a dark theme. But the way you play the game is really not that much. It's very much a area control type game. The board looks super drab, but the gameplay and the new expansions that they're putting into it really liven up the gameplay a lot. I really enjoyed this game a lot. It did fall, but I think that's more because of the infusion of 130 games rather than my liking it changing at all. So that's my number 99, Rise of the Necromancers.
Nice. My number 99, by no fault of its own, ended up in the exact same spot as it was last year, which is not even, like I said, list to list. I didn't look at them.
Yeah.
But my number 99 landed in the exact same spot, which is good because that means those other ones popped in and it still stayed in there. Yeah. But that is Mission Red Planet, specifically 2nd edition. I really like Mission Red Planet. I think this is a great game. In this game, you can have up to 6 players. You are sending astronauts to Mars to basically area control different locations of Mars. It's exploring, right? But it's basically an area control thing where you're trying to go out there and populate these different locations on Mars. But the cool mechanic is you have to get your astronauts into rockets, and then those rockets have to fly to Mars to those different locations. But everybody has a hand of cards. They're all character cards, and everyone have the exact same hand. And you play down a character. You don't play down a character, but everybody plays down a character face down, and then once you're done, you flip it over. And then in countdown fashion, the 10s go first, or the 9s go first, all the way down. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So if you're the 8 and you're the highest, you get to go first. You get to do the action that's on your card, and then it goes to the next person. So there's a lot of planning and thought process in, well, if I play this one right now, it's going to take me forever to get there. By the time I get to change the name on the space shuttle or whatever, it might be already taken off. Or there's all these cool things that happen on it. It's not a super long game. There's only, 3 scoring phases, and
Right.
then it's done.
Yep.
So it happens pretty quick. But you can play it up to 6 players. Everybody has a ball trying to
Yes.
backstab each other and
Absolutely.
take over.
And really, there's not a whole lot of differences between first and second edition other than aesthetics, the counting down 10 to 9 when you fire off the cards. That was one of the changes.
Oh.
So they just reversed the order of the cards, really. They didn't really... so there isn't a whole lot of difference between first and second editions, but the second edition looks a lot better.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Has
Cute
much
little-
better components.
Cute little
as well.
astronauts. That's my number 99, Mission Red Planet.
Very good. All right, my number 98 is also a newcomer. Only 2 newcomers to this segment. Dutch Resistance, Orange Shall Overcome. This is a historically based theme where each player is going to take on the role of a Dutch resistance fighter in World War II. And I love that fact. I love games that are based upon history. This one goes a little bit of a step further. The designer of the game actually contacted the surviving descendants of these players and got their permission to use their name and likeness in the game. That is amazing. He also held interviews with these people and actually got real circumstances that are used in the halt cards of the game. You have to move around the board, accomplishing different goals, collecting certain resources that are needed to use somewhere else in the game. And as you're moving around the city, you're going to be having to go past these different checkpoints. And the halt cards are what you have to draw in order to make decisions on how you're going to do. A lot of different things can be affected. Morale can be affected. How much food we have in the game. How much other kinds of resources. All of that kind of stuff are affected. And it's a really crunchy, cooperative game. Scenario based, and I really enjoy this game a lot. I think it was a great historically based game, and that's why it made my top 100 at number 98. Dutch Resistance, Orange Shall Overcome, Marcel Kohler.
Very nice. Very nice. My number 98 was 65 last year. And I can only...
you hate it now.
I hate it now. No, I don't hate it now. I may not get to play it as much as I want. But this is Dinosaur World from Pandasaurus Games.
Ooh, okay.
In Dinosaur World, it is a worker placement game where at the beginning of the round, you're getting a card that has specific colored workers on them, which do different things. You're going out, you're collecting new paddocks, you're collecting new attraction buildings, you're collecting some admin buildings or whatever else. You're also collecting DNA so that you can create dinosaurs that you can put in your paddocks. And then at the end of all of that, you're also balancing your security versus your security risk of the dinosaurs. You put a T-Rex in there, you got to have more security.
You kind of do, yeah.
Then if you put something small and
or at least bigger guns.
in there. Yep, bigger guns. But so you're managing your security versus your threat. But in the end of the game or the end of each round, you have your little Jeep, just like in Jurassic Park, and you're going to drive it through your park. They're all so your placement of your dinosaurs and your things all matter because you're entering your entrance and then you're driving through your park. And as you drive through your park, you're basically making points by making people happy to see these things.
Yep.
Interesting mechanic is that after they drive through the paddock once, the enthusiasm for that attraction goes down because now they need something new and better and different. So you're constantly trying to build new things, trying to change your routes, and just trying to make this cool big old dinosaur park. So
that's cool.
I really like this game.
It's a great theme. My number 97 actually fell from number 26.
Ooh, nice.
Doesn't mean that I don't like the game anymore. It just means that in this particular example, I can't get it to the table as much as I would want to in order for it to stay higher on my list. I still really enjoy the game. As far as hidden movement and all of that kind of stuff is concerned, this is one of the best games that does it, in my opinion, and that's called The Fury of Dracula.
Oh.
Really enjoy this game. It's an all versus one. One person takes on the role of Dracula. Everybody else takes on the role of different hunters that are trying to track him down. and it's just been so long since I played the game. I have, when it the way Pub Meeple does their ranking is that it places 2 games against each other, and you got to choose one.
Which one would you rather play?
And so it's not necessarily, in my opinion. Well, that's definitely one of the first questions you ask. Which one would you rather play? But then I want to play both of them. Okay, well, which one is more likely to happen is another Civ.
That's an interesting way to put it.
I mean,
I don't think I look at it that way.
I definitely
I say,
do.
which one do I love the most? Which one would I rather play? Second, which one has the strongest mechanics and the tightest gameplay?
Yeah.
And then third, which one looks the best on the table?
Well, I definitely, one of those
those
things,
would be my 3.
how often am I going to be able to get this to the table? That's one of the things that it's one of the Civs that you have to go through. And this one just kind of fails on that last one. It's definitely towards the bottom of the list. But Fury of Dracula is a great game. The 3rd and 4th edition, the box cover, I really had trouble wrapping my head around the box cover for 3rd, 4th edition. But everything else really looks good. Everything else really looks good in the game. I really enjoyed it. And I still really do, but it has fallen from number 26.
Wow.
It's my number 97, Fury of Dracula.
Nice. All right, my number 97 is a cool little game with trolls, and they're not cute little trolls with hair that flutter around. This is a game called In the Hall of the Mountain King.
I still haven't played this.
From Burnt Island Games. In the Hall of the Mountain King is a fantastic game, and I have all the deluxe components since last we talked about this, probably. But in this game, you start out on the outside edge of the mountain. It's time to dig your way back in. So you're using these polyomino tiles to dig your tunnels back in. You're creating workshops in there. You're picking up bases for statues that go in there, and you're trying to get these statues on carts so you can cart them to the center of the mountain, because if you build your statues in the center of the mountain, you get more points. And it has this really cool mechanic where you are going to create this little trolls moot, this little pyramid of trolls. And you start out with 4 trolls along the bottom, and they have resources. When you draft a new troll, it sits in between 2 of those trolls and up above, right? So it starts creating this pyramid. When you do that, when you place that troll there, you get to a cascading resource value. So everything underneath it gets to produce the resources. Yeah. So the placement of those trolls is really important. And you get this. You don't want to place them too early while there's already resources there. You don't get any more. Yeah. You have to use those resources up, and then when somebody has 10 trolls, the game is over. So once the pyramid's complete for somebody, that's the end of the game. Yep. But you are all trying to dig your way in, while everybody else is trying to dig their way in and get in everybody's way with the tunnels.
That's cool.
And you're trying to build these statues. It's a really cool game.
I need to try it.
Yeah,
I need to try it. It sounds so fun.
That's my 97 in the Hall of the Mountain King.
Very cool. All right, my number 96 fell from place 35 last year, and this one usually will get beaten out by another arena battler. But this one is a really fun one, and if you like the hobby aspect of miniature gaming, this is probably more of your Huckleberry than the other one that usually beats it out for me. But this one's called Warhammer Underworlds. Yep. Now, that's the main title. They have a whole bunch of different titles that it will go with, but if you type up Warhammer Underworlds, you're going to come up in the BGG search engine, you're going to come up with a whole bunch of them. Shadespire, Dire Chasm, Night Gaunts, a number of different ones that are in there. Or, I'm sorry, not Night Gaunt, Night Vault. Number of different ones. They're all the same game with slight nuances based upon the 2 factions that come in that box. And basically, you're just taking your faction against your other person's faction. There's a lot more card play and hand management in this one than in other arena battlers. But you're basically, you have scoring cards, and then you have action cards that you'll be able to use. And you're trying to, those are all secret. Your opponent doesn't know what you're trying to do.
Sure. Or what you can do.
Or what you can do, correct. Yep. So a really great game. Arena battler, miniatures are off the chain. This is also a good stepping in point. if you want to try out hobby miniature gaming, because all of these, they do come on sprues, but they are snap fit. So you don't have to use glue. I usually do when I'm putting them together, but you don't have to use glue. So check that out. It's my number 96, Warhammer Underworlds.
Nice. My number 96 is a game that I seem to champion with people a lot or talk about every so often. And this is a game from Board and Dice called Terracotta Army. Terracotta Army is a really cool game where you are creating a terracotta army inside this gridded mausoleum. That mausoleum is going to score every round for different reasons. It's going to score, you're going to have a couple inspectors in there that are scoring specific rows, which you can manipulate. You are also going to have some main scoring goals that are different game to game. That will be either area control or something of that nature that will change how you want to build out the mausoleum. But in this, you have a tiered wheel. I'd say it's a triple layered wheel where you do your action selection, and those wheels turn. So any point on your turn, you're going to place a guy down and you're going to get all three of the actions on that wheel. Before you take an action, you can pay money to turn one of those wheels a specific direction, which will change the three actions that you get. But it's a very, very tight worker placement spot. Once you've taken that spot, nobody else gets that spot unless they have a big worker. And so the action selection gets very tight, very, very fast. You get to influence these masters, which give you special abilities or special benefits throughout the game. And you have to manage your clay so that you have enough wet clay to create what you're doing, the statues that you're doing. But in between rounds, if you have a bunch of wet clay left over, it's going to dry, and you're going to have to take actions to re-wet it. So it's just got a very cool mechanism.
Yeah, it does.
It's a very cool board presence, and I just like that spatial puzzle of that mausoleum. So
it's very cool. Good pick. 79 last year was quite the landslide from my top 10 the year before, or rather 6 years before.
I like it.
So this one is called Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. Now, you might say 95. Yep, you might say, well, this is definitely going to slip off next year. Not necessarily so.
Yeah.
Now, this is one that's definitely suffering mostly from simply not being able to get it to the table.
Sure.
That is the long and the short of it. I love the mechanisms in this game. It is a very heavy game, and I'm usually shying away from heavier games right now. So that's part of it. But the biggest thorn in TI4's flesh is the fact that I just can't get it to the table.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. And I know where there's a will, there's a way. I get all of that. But it's so hard to get other people willing to corner off an entire day just for one game. It's really hard to do that, but I really enjoy the game. And when it hits the table, I have such a great time doing it, and the time literally flies by. It's hard to get people to understand this, but you play this game for 6 to 8 hours, it does not feel like you are playing the game for 6 to 8 hours. It just doesn't. Time goes by so quickly. So it's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. It's on my top 100 for crying out loud. Yes, it's slipping, but that doesn't mean anything other than I just can't get it to the table as much as I would want it to. So that's my number 95, Twilight Imperium 4th Edition.
Very nice. Where did that slide from?
79.
Oh, that's pretty close. My number 95 slid from 81. Well, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same thing. But this is an Awakened Realms game called Lords of Ragnarok.
That's a good one.
I need to play this one more.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this game. I really like the premise of this game. In this game, you're taking on a Norse hero, and that's who you are. And the cool thing about this game is it's a lot of area control. There's 3 ways to win. You can either control 3 entire areas, which there's these colored areas across the board that have multiple locations in them. You can either control 3 entire areas, which that means everybody on the table would have to allow you to control 3 entire areas without fighting back. You have to control 5 temples at one time at the end of your turn, which are spread across the board. Or you have to kill the boss, the big boss monster that's on the board, which is, in the base game, it's Loki, but there are others with the expansions and things like that. But you have the ability to go around as the leader. Your armies, your people building temples, all that kind of stuff are kind of doing that within your area of control. But your leader, your hero, gets the opportunity to walk across the board and do all kinds of other things, help usurp areas and stuff like that. It's just a really cool game. It's beautiful. You get to build these giant statues. Temple, they're not called temples. I can't think of the word right now, but you build them, for the gods, for Odin, or for, and they come in these 3 pieces, and the miniatures are gorgeous.
Table appeal on this one is
Table
off the charts.
presence is off the chart. This is a really cool game, and I like the fact, unlike other area control, just combat games, the fact that you have that hero that's going around doing very important stuff as well. So I think that's a really cool thing.
I agree. Good pick. My number 94, I have hailed as one of the most thematic games I've ever played. And the reason why it is lower is, again, because it is a longer game. It's harder to get to the table. But not only does its length make it hard to get to the table, its theme, because they haven't seen the movie. But if you've seen the movie, and you play the game, you'll know just how thematic this game actually is. This one's called Big Trouble in Little China. It's definitely one of those movies that is almost like it has a cult following at this point. If you haven't seen it, or if you didn't see it when it first came out and haven't watched it over the years, then you watch it now and you're like, it's okay. But it is just one of those things where, one of those movies where you watch it, you like it, or you hate it. If you like it and you play board games, you need to get this game, because it is one of the most thematic experiences in a board game that I've ever had, and I love the movie so much. This one just kind of stays in it. I have the version that's kind of the deluxe version, and came in a gold box instead of a white box.
Nice.
But it's such a fun game, and Everything Epic is a great company that makes super thematic games. Not necessarily those kinds of games where you can totally parse out everything and figure everything out. It's not, but as far as theme is concerned, dude, they've got their finger on the pulse. So that is my number 94, Big Trouble in Little China. If you like the movie and you haven't played the game, wake up, go play the game.
Nice. Yep. Agreed. All right. My number 94 fell from 86. It's from Lucky Duck Games, and it's called Destinies. Destinies is a really cool adventure game, if you want to call it that, where you're taking on the role of a character. You all are taking on the role of a different character, and you have this little world map where you're going to interact. Each of you have, all of your stories are intertwined, which is kind of very interesting.
Super interesting.
But each of you have different goals, different thought processes, different things you want to go out and do in the world. And everybody's kind of racing to do things. But I might need a silver statue to get something done, but I can't find it. But you might be over at a specific spot, and you might see a locked gate with a silver statue behind it. And now I'm going, in my mind, I'm going, don't take it, don't take it, don't take it. And then I'm frantically trying to find the key to go get it. But you're all trying to make different things happen. And then at the end of the scenario, I don't want to spoil any of the scenarios because they're very specific. But at the end of the scenario, you kind of learn how everybody meshed together, or throughout the scenario, how each of your stories kind of connected. So it's just a really, really neat story-driven, or not even story-driven,
well, that's what I was about to say. If you really like story-driven, campaign, scenario-based type games.
But you're not reading a lot of things.
No, you're not.
It's kind of cool.
But the story's in the background.
Yep, it all comes out.
This is like heavily app-assisted too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
it
wanna
is.
say yes.
I think it is. So the version that I played, it was
Yes,
heavily
yes, yes.
app assisted,
Trying to think
which
if
is
we
a
used
good
the
thing in
book
my
last time
opinion.
or not, but yeah,
Good thing in my opinion, but it's really fun. Really great game.
it's really neat.
All right, my number 93 fell from number 23's spot last year. But again,
You're going to keep a smile on my face through this whole top 100.
Star Wars Outer Rim. If you like Star Wars and if you like pick up and deliver games, this is right where you need to be. What are you talking about?
I don't like Star Wars or pick up and deliver
Well,
games.
then you get out of my house. This is a great pick up and deliver game that is firmly entrenched within the Star Wars universe, but it is so entrenched in the Star Wars universe that you might not be able to play all of your loved characters from the Star Wars universe.
Sure.
This is very much the background Star Wars universe because you're going to be a bounty hunter that's just trying to make their way in the universe, or a smuggler that's trying to make their way in the universe. And you're trying to piece together your ship and go on and take all of these different jobs and go around, and you're going to be brushing shoulders with some of those very notable characters in the Star Wars universe, but you're not actually playing them per se. You can play a couple of them.
Yeah, good luck becoming notable or making it into episode 19. It's not going to happen.
Episode 19. Oh, one can only hope. But this is a great pick up and deliver game. If you like Firefly the game, this is very much like Firefly the game, but it's streamlined and it doesn't take as long to play. So take that into account as well. Star Wars Outer Rim is a great game. I'm glad that I own it and its expansion, Unfinished Business. My number 93, Star Wars Outer Rim.
Nice. And I do like one Star Wars game now, just for the record.
Oh.
But anyways.
Did it make your top 100?
No. Not a chance. Not a chance. It made my top 500 for sure.
Too brute.
I'm just kidding. My number 93 fell from 85. So still staying within the range.
Yep.
This is my preferred out of all of the picture type social deduction games. This is my preferred one, and this is Detective Club. In Detective Club, you play a card down as the what do you call as the person giving the clue? Sorry, I can't think of the name right now. As the clue giver, you're playing a card down, and you have a number of notebooks based on the number of players, and you're going to write one word down, which this card represents, on all the notebooks but one of them, and then you're going to hand them out. And then in turn order, all the way around the table, they are going to play cards out of their hand that match this, the word that you gave them. Although one of them's not going to know what the word is and is just going to do the best they can to match that. And
Unless they're the person that goes first.
Unless they're
the person
that's
that goes
okay,
first.
because then you're going to play a second card down that matches the same word, and then everybody else gets to play a second card down that matches the same word. So that person has more information,
The second time
even if they're that person. And then you're going to go around the table, and you're going to ask every person why they played those cards and how it matches that word.
Yeah.
And then everybody's going to vote on who the conspirator is. As the clue giver, you want the conspirator only to get 0 or 1 picks. Like, you want them to blend in. That's the difference in this game. You're not trying to get them called out by everybody else. You want them to blend in and be able to make it, because you get points and they get points if they blend in. But if they get more than 2 people voting for them, everybody that votes for them gets 3 points, but nobody else gets anything, and you get 0.
Oh, wow.
So you want them to kind of blend in. You don't
Brutal.
want them to stand out. It's very, very fun.
That's cool.
Maybe that little twist there is the piece that's really fun.
Yeah,
but it is a very great game, and it's got that beautiful artwork, all the fancy cards and just the gorgeous artwork and everything
Dixit
else. So
style.
Dixit style. So this is my favorite of those kind of games.
All right, my number 92 is a cool little area control kind of variable player power drafting game that I've really enjoyed over the years. It was at space 58 last year. It has slid down to number 92. One of those reasons is probably that I don't own the game, so the likelihood of me getting it to the table is super low.
Tough, yeah.
But they have continued to come out with expansions and new versions of the game. This is called Kemet. I think Blood and Sand is the newest iteration of it.
Yeah.
But it still has all of the really neat things that I liked about the original game. I liked the layout of the board, first of all. Each person will take a corner or a spot on the board that is their starting location. And everybody's kind of pretty much equidistant from everybody else. You can't really turtle in this game. You have to go out and get some stuff done. You have to move your forces around. You have to do the things that you need to do. Area control is a big part of the game. Drafting new powers and new abilities that make you a little bit different than everybody else. That's a big part of the game. That's one of the reasons why I like it. I like the Egyptian theme as well. Everything just really kind of congeals into a very pleasurable experience, and that's why it's still hanging on with my number, with number 92 of my top 100 games.
Yeah.
Kemet.
Such a pretty game, and that Blood and Sand is such a beautiful addition. Yep. Right on. That's awesome. My number 92 fell from 63, and this is a lighter game on my list, and that's not why it fell.
Yes, it is.
But it is a game that I don't play a lot.
Because it's too
on
light.
my own, or Mel, doesn't want to play it. They play it with other people. But this is Marvel United, specifically the X-Men edition. Now, I do have the Multiverse edition did come in a few weeks ago, so I have all of that content yet to do. And I have some of the X-Men content, I should say, almost a third or more of the X-Men content that I haven't done either. And there is some really cool stuff in there that I know that I need to get to the table. But it's about getting the person, the group together that wants to play it specifically. And that's kind of why it's dropped a little bit, because I don't have groups that like to play that quite as much. I need to bring it to game nights and see if people want to. I think people would like it at game nights. But,
I think so too.
But it's very cool. You take a character.
Just don't bring all of it.
I won't bring all of it.
Pick, because I've seen people's collections, and they're like hating on Simon right now because it's like from floor to ceiling. How many boxes this thing has?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know the X-Men. I have everything for the X-Men. I have part of the original. I got rid of most of the original that I had because the X-Men's that much better.
Wow.
In my opinion, the characters are more different and more unique.
Yeah.
And I like that X-Men theme. But I took several of those and I actually combined them in 3D printed little things, so I have multiple expansions in one box, all sorted very nicely.
Oh, that's cool.
Just to get rid of all of those tons of boxes.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
But my number 92 is Marvel United. It is a very, very fun game. There's a ton of content. You can make it as hard as you want.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. All right, my last one for this segment, my number 91 is a game that I really enjoy. This is the first Vincent Dutrait artwork game on my top 100.
I thought you were going to say it fell from number 1.
No! Number 42 was where this resided last year. So it is at number 91, but Rising 5, The Runes of Asteros, is a really cool a cooperative deduction game. Basically, the theme is you're trying to stop the moon of Asteros from crashing into the planet. And in order to stop that, you have to figure out this ancient code that the ancients left you. And you're doing that by going and fighting different monsters and picking up a clue over there, and you're going up and picking up clues over this other space where you have to do this other thing. And you're trying to put all of those different codes together. I think it's a 3 or 4 picture code that you have to get those things into the right order. It's not a very long game, but it's very cooperative. It's very everybody has their own special ability that they can do, and you're trying to work together to find all of the right clues. It is app assisted. Basically, the only thing the app does is it keeps track of the guesses that you've already made, so you don't make those same mistakes again. and it'll tell you when you have a symbol in the right order and all of that kind of thing. So I love that it's app assisted. It also has some music that it plays in the background. It's a really great game, beautiful game as well. It's Runes of Rising 5, the Runes of Asteros.
You want to know something really dumb about this game? Not dumb at all. Something really funny about this. As I went through his top 100 and I organized them just in case he didn't put a number to where they used to be.
Yeah.
And when I read that one, I was like, I hope that one, because he already told me you have a bunch of changes.
Yeah.
I says, I hope that one didn't fall out of his top 100 because I haven't played it yet and I still want to play it. And it falls out of the top 100. Chances of me playing it are less.
No.
So I actually thought that when I looked at that game. I hope it's still in there because I still want to play it.
Well, it's got Vincent Dutrait artwork on it, so the
that's
likelihood
gonna
that I'm
keep it
going
there?
to get it away, the likelihood that I'm going to get rid of it,
I didn't think
is
get rid of
super
it. But
low.
once it falls out of your top 100, it's
Yeah.
even realms.
No. All right, what's your 91?
All right, my number 91, I'm assuming is going to be a crossover. We didn't talk about crossovers.
No.
We'll talk about that at the beginning of the next video, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But my number 91 is a cute little game called King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo, specifically the Dark Edition. I know we talk about this game a lot, but in King of Tokyo, you are simply trying to play King of the Hill by putting your monster in the middle of Tokyo and trying to keep them there to get points. You're either going to win by points or you're going to win by destroying everybody else's monster. And you're doing this by rolling Yahtzee style, to do damage or to get stars or to get points. The Dark Edition specifically has a little track so that if you roll triple ones or triple twos, you're going to move up this track a little bit, which gets you special abilities every couple of levels, which is really awesome as well. Because in the normal King of Tokyo, the 1s and 2s and 3s just give you points.
Yep.
But in this one, it makes 1s much more important,
useful.
more useful. So I really like this. I like the artwork. I like that dark, and I like that kind of neon. Or not neon, but you know what I mean, like that dark light kind of look to it. So
yeah, the Dark Edition is definitely. I think it's a better stepping in point at this juncture because
it's a more completed game.
Yeah, there and not only that, there's more stuff for the original core game that if you don't get it, it's kind of
Yep.
But this one has all of that kind of baked into it, the Dark Edition already. So that's a good one.
That's my number 91, and the last one for this list.
All right, numbers 100 through 91, that is that.
Yeah.
We will be posting one of these, at least one, per week. So be on the lookout, because we're going to come next week with our numbers 90 to 81. And we're going to keep doing that until we get all the way down to numero uno.
That's right. Take a lot of notes. Black Friday is coming up.
That is correct. Because if you don't have these games, you need to go get them. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Like, comment, subscribe, and tell us what you think.
What he said. Bye-bye.
Later.